Good morning.
Good morning.
On behalf of the Utah Board of Oil, Gas, and Mining, this is the time and place for our hearing. It's December 9th, 2015. And on behalf of the board, we want to wish all of you a happy holiday season, to you and to those that you love. And we want you to know what an honor it is to be on this board, and an honor that it is to work with the high quality folks that we do with the division and with those that appear before us. So having said that, John, if you would start, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome to you and members of the board for your Salt Lake City hearing this month in December. As you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, my name is John Baza. I'm the director for the Division of Oil, Gas, and Mining. I want to remind all of you that this is a streaming session, so we've got people watching us live, and just wanted to remind you of that as we go forward.
Are we also on YouTube today?
I think that's where we're streaming. I do have a couple of introductions to make as we start, and traditionally we always like to bring new employees to greet the board and so that you can recognize their faces. We did hire a new person to be one of our operations field representatives in Vernal, and she is here this morning. I'm going to ask Amy Debley to stand up. Let me read some things about Amy for you. Amy is a native of Vernal. She attended the University of Wyoming, received a Bachelor of Science in Energy Resource Management and Development, and that is an integrated degree program with focused disciplines in natural resources, engineering, geology, and business. She was previously employed at Encana Oil and Gas in Denver, Colorado, as a regulatory analyst. Her main areas of responsibility were planning, permitting, and field compliance operations within the Piceance Basin of Colorado, and facility and pipeline permitting and compliance in the Eagle Ford Shale of southern Texas. Amy is very excited about working with the division. She is looking forward to learning more about oil and gas operations around the great state of Utah, and the opportunity to work with industry leaders to promote safe development and conservation of our natural resources. So thank you very much, and welcome, Amy.
Thank you.
We also have some visitors here this morning, and I'd like to acknowledge them from the Idaho Department of Lands. And I hope I get all your names right, but just give a wave as I come to you. Tom Schultz is the director, and Diane French is the deputy director. Jim Clausen is the commissioner of the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. Margaret Chipman is vice chair of the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. Christina Fugate is the deputy attorney general, and she has actually been here before. She attended a hearing to observe, I think, in June of this year. Charla Arledge is their PIO, and State Senator Abby Lee is here. So we welcome our visitors. They're here to observe the board hearing, learn what Utah is doing and how you guys conduct business.
Well, we want to welcome you all, and we would love to meet with you as a board in one of our breaks to answer any questions and kind of tell you where we're going, and see if we can assist you in whatever way we can to make your visit worthwhile. We do have a lot of opinions on everything, so you can pretty well be assured of that, but we really do welcome you. Mr. Baza?
Okay, with that, we're going to go off script for a few minutes. I know we have a set of briefing items to talk to you about, but we had a request from our department executive director, Mike Styler, to come and visit with you. So I'm going to introduce Mike And then Mike is going to introduce Alan Clark, who's going to talk to you as well.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members. It's a privilege to be with you today, and actually this request was kind of in consultation with Chair Rulon Gill. We, about a dozen years ago, started a program, and it kind of started out as the Governor's Watershed Initiative, and it's become now a partnership of collaborative parties that's bigger than just the Department of Natural Resources. We involve our federal friends, Bureau of Land Management, Fish and Wildlife Service, Forest Service, NRCS, our state school and institutional trust lands, counties, private individuals, all have come together to improve the health of our watersheds. We've looked carefully and come to the realization that if we have healthy watersheds, we will be better off for fire protection. We'll have better water runoff. We'll have better quality and better water quantity in our runoff that's so important to us. We will have better habitat for livestock, better habitat for wildlife, for sensitive species, and we've also seen and followed what you folks do in your Earth Day awards. You give awards to industry folks that have done exemplary jobs in their reclamation, and we've learned from that and decided there's lots of reclamation that need to be done just because Mother Nature has not been able to keep up. We've suppressed fires throughout the West for the last 50 years, where we used to have a regime of regular fires that would keep our watersheds in a different position than they are today. We've allowed pinyon and juniper to grow. We've had invasive species like cheatgrass and others move in and change the whole face of the land. And we've determined that if we could bring it back to a more healthy state, then all of those areas that we talked about, fire suppression, wildlife, livestock, water quality, water quantity, would all improve. We have recently done some research and found out that in the area of sage grouse, we can actually create sage grouse habitat that those birds will move into, and we have some documented evidence that in several places in the state we've actually reclaimed pinyon juniper habitat to a point where sage grouse have gone in and actually raised broods in those areas. And so we're thinking this is an opportunity for those in the energy industry to look at creating habitat. And Alan Clark is our director of the Watershed Restoration Initiative. He coordinates the efforts of over 100 participants that contribute to this effort. Now, this effort is a pretty big effort. We have how many partners now? Over 100, isn't it?
122 this year.
122 partners that contribute money to watershed restoration projects. Our total this year is how much money?
Up to over $160 million.
That we have spent on watershed restoration. The acreage that we have physically treated and reseeded is 1.3?
At 1.22.
1.22 million acres. And there's much more to do. But we're actually seeing success. BLM has pointed out to us several areas where the fire, the regime in Utah has, we just didn't have a bad fire year this last year. And they can point out many instances where fire started within or next to, through a lightning strike, a treated watershed project, and the fire laid right down, or it burned so slowly that we could get firefighters to it before it got anywhere, before it did much damage. And so this is the project that Alan is the coordinator for. He does it with all these many partners, and he has a present. And then on top of all this, we've got a new idea to engage industry, and this is something that Chairman Gill, you talked to me about, and we actually will have a proposal going to the legislature this year asking for their authorization for us to start a compensatory mitigation program, so that property or land that we have already treated, industry could purchase an interest in that mitigation. And I better not say more. I'll let Alan talk about it.
Board members, what happened is I called, and for our Idaho friends, Mr. Styler is the director of the Department of Natural Resources that handles state lands, oil and gas, water rights, water resources, oil and gas survey,
State parks,
state
wildlife.
parks, animals of every kind, hunting, fishing, all of that. He's on the governor's cabinet, and I happened to call him and just said, we've got major drilling we think that will happen when the low prices end and we get back to normal. What could we do as a board to assist the state? And he said, well, I've already got this program going. Our question was, how could we get the oil companies involved? He said, well, I want to tell you about this. And he was all excited. So we asked him to come today and make this presentation. So with that, please proceed.
All right. They told me to speak into the mic a little more, so I'll try to behave.
A lot.
Yes, a lot. What I'd like to do is talk about the program, and I'm going to shift gears a couple times through. And so what I'd like to do is I want to talk a little bit about the threats to sage grouse in Utah, because it's different in the Great Basin than other places with sage grouse. Then a little bit about our watershed, a little more detail about our watershed restoration initiative and some of the things as it relates to this, and then talk about the compensatory mitigation program that Mike just mentioned and where we're going with that and kind of the next step. So I'm going to do all that and try to get through all that in 15 or 20 minutes. John said I could have 20 minutes. Well, he said take as long as I wanted, but I know he didn't mean that. So, so I like to do that. What I'd like to point out is it's just a great partnership we have. It's kind of a unique thing in the West. I'm asked to go all over the place and talk about it. I was in Boise, Idaho 2 weeks ago and talking to a national conference on what we do here, but I want to make it very plain that I describe my job as being a hood ornament on one of the old cars. You remember old cars and trucks? They had a hood ornament on them. People younger than several of us don't remember hood ornaments on vehicles. But, do you ever ask yourself, what good is the hood ornament? What's it do? It actually did nothing. It was the first thing that hit the bugs when you went into a place with bugs. And but it ended up being a symbol, but really didn't accomplish anything. You could rip the hood ornament off and the car ran just as well without it. So that's kind of my job, is I get to talk to a group like you and share what we're doing. But it's really all those partners we have scattered all over the state, hundreds of individuals and agencies and organizations that are participating in this. So I'm just the mouthpiece for them, but don't ever think that it's a top-down kind of thing. It's a really great partnership and that. So let me go through this a little bit. You've heard some of this before. I've cut this way back. This is very similar to a talk I did last month to the Western Energy Alliance board over in Denver, to the Maine committee, I think it is, Lowell. So Utah committee. I said Maine. Boy, I'm dating myself. To the Utah committee, and this will be kind of an abbreviated version of what I did for them. So I'll whip through this pretty quick and then have a chance if there's any questions. So with sage grouse, there's really three big issues that affect sage grouse in Utah when we look at it. It's permanent disturbance in habitat. Sage grouse are an odd bird in that they're pretty intolerant of permanent disturbance of things, noise or tall structures or anything like that. Catastrophic wildfire destroys a huge amount of habitat when we get these fires. We're looking at prevention and suppression and rehabilitation, but rehabilitation after a fire is very hard, very difficult, particularly if you're trying to get sagebrush back. You can get grasses and forbs back. It's very hard to get sagebrush back. And then invasive species. And Mike mentioned cheatgrass, but pinyon juniper is really the one that we're spending a lot of effort to work with right now. A little bit about pinyon juniper, a little history. Even Rulon doesn't remember back to this time, okay, that we're talking about. But we estimate right now that there are about 10.5 million acres of pinyon juniper in Utah, and that's a 600% increase over what there was 150 years ago. Think about when the state was being settled. So it's really expanded. 90% of this increase is increasing into sagebrush shrub steppe habitats. So it's a big problem, and it continues to go on. They estimate research that's been done in 2007 and 2008 estimate that we have between 0.5% and 1.5% growth each year. So we're growing a lot, and that continues to happen, that expansion. A lot of reasons for it: suppression of fire, other sorts of issues that people talk about, but the facts are it is growing. So if we think about a 1% expansion rate for Utah, to pick the middle number there, PJ is expanding at about 105,000 acres a year. And here's a picture just showing you what it looks like on a large scale. Here's a mountain range on the top in 1973, and the same mountain range taken from the same point in 2007. And you can see what's happened there. And that's happening all over the state, this infilling and expansion of pinyon juniper. Here's a little closer look at it. If you look in the upper left, 1982, you can see pinyon junipers just starting to come into that area. By 1988, you can see it's really expanding. 2000's expanded enough now that the sagebrush is dropping out of that system. And then 2010 is what it looks like when we're done with it, when we go in and treat those areas and start to bring a more healthy system back. We don't know exactly how much PJ is in our sage grouse management areas. I know that you were given a presentation, at least one, maybe two now, on the Utah sage grouse plan, but we manage based around these sage grouse management areas. But if you use our 1% rate of increase and you look at the amount of sagebrush in our sage grouse management areas, we're losing about 14,000 acres a year of sagebrush and sage grouse habitat to pinyon juniper encroachment. So even if we did storage, equipment, project monitoring that goes on through of what we have, I just want to show you one of the facilities that ties into this program, the Great Basin Research Center, and what they do. That's in the Division of Wildlife Resources. That's the facility in Ephraim. I don't know if any of you have been down there or seen that facility. It's a research center and a seed warehouse. That's what it looks like inside, with about 1 million pounds of seed, getting ready for fall projects to start. We have custom seed mixing equipment. We can mix any seed mix anybody wants and bag it and deliver it on site. So we provide that service to people who participate in the program. We have lots of equipment. That's rangeland drills, but we have lots and lots of equipment available there, anchor chains and so on, and do that. This is our funding cycle. So we're right now in the process of proposals for 2017 going into our database. A little bit, these are the pictures Mike likes. He likes me to show some of the things that we do. Here's some of the treatment methods, and I'm only going to cover a few to let you see what these do. We have, this is a Dixie harrow, or pipe harrow it's called. Use that a lot for seedbed preparation and thinning sagebrush and thinning other things. So here's an example up in Schofield. That's what it looked like ahead of time. What we wanted to do is make more food for sage grouse up on top of on top of Schofield. So that's what it looked like when we started. That's what it looked like when we were done. We also were making more food for livestock and more food for other things too. And you can see the difference there between all of the grasses and forbs in that understory, yet there's still a good sagebrush cover for the sage grouse. And that's a comparison in what it looks like. A few other the treatments we do, Ely chaining is one of the things, or anchor chaining, some people refer to it as. This is a good way to treat a lot of big acres for pinyon juniper. It's probably our most cost-effective way of doing it, about $100 an acre.
I just add something in here. We do this on BLM and Forest Service land. We do it as a state entity. We give those federal entities some cover. It's not their project, it's our project. And because of that, we've done about 1,300 projects and had one lawsuit out of 1,300 projects, and that lawsuit was dropped. Think the Forest Service or BLM could have that kind of record? No way.
So that's what the chain looks. Just to give you an idea, each of those links on that chain weighs between 75 and 125 pounds. So if you picture us dragging a couple hundred yard long chain through that, we use 2 D8s or D9 bulldozers to pull that through and treat those areas. This is what it looks like. And in all of these pictures now, the next 5 or 6 or so, you see that tape that's there. Those are permanent plots. So we measure what was there when we started, what's there now. And so sometimes it'll be hard for you to believe that that's actually the same site. That's what it looked like when we were done. Exactly the same place with that tape in the same place. So this happened to be a treatment we did, and it gives you little numbers. And in the interest of time, I won't go into detail on the numbers, but you can see what we were after was getting rid of the pinyon juniper. Here's another chaining real quick that it looks like. You can see the floor, the understory. You see why you get a lot of erosion under pinyon juniper stands, because there's just nothing there to hold soil. We go in and okay, there we go. Sorry, that slide came up in pieces. This is what it looked like when we were done. So 2006 was before treatment. This is, we did the treatment at the end of 2006. 2011, this is what we ended up with again in trying to do that. This is another piece of equipment we use a lot. It's called a bull hog or a masticator. They can be on rubber tires like that, or they can be on a track hoe type frame to operate. They basically eat trees, and so we use those. They're a lot more expensive, but they have some advantages with the mulching that they do to prepare a better seed bed and lower fire risk, a lot more even than the chaining. So here's an example of a bull hog. This was the place before. This is it after in 2010, so you can get a look at it. So we do monitoring, so you see from 2004 when it was treated to 2012 what happened. Let me just point out one thing real quick. Do you notice, if you look at the very bottom of the chart on there, between 2004 and 2007, we went from only 1% cheatgrass up to 14% right after the project. That's not unusual, but it also is not bad, because you notice what it falls off to, because we got our native species and the species we seed can compete with cheatgrass if you get the pinyon juniper out of the way and you don't let fire go in. So it's a neat tool that we can use. And just here's another one real quick that I'll go through. Same sort of situation, what it looked like before and what it looked like after we do. So the final tool I just want to show you is lop and scatter. Where you have scattered stands of pinyon juniper, we put people in on with chainsaws or with brush saws to remove the trees. So you can see this is what it looked like before and after. This gives you a picture. Mike gave a summary of what we've done in the state. This is a really small map, but it's pretty amazing that you can see the red projects are the fire rehab projects after a fire's burned. The blue ones are the restoration projects where we're actually doing projects proactively. And you can see the matching rates we get, but it ends up being about a little over $160 million through FY15 and 1.2, just a little over 1.2 million acres. Let me go back to the mitigation piece, and this will just take a couple minutes to finish up. Compensatory mitigation guidance. I know you know that we have a state plan that was adopted by the governor, and we have an executive order that the governor issued 2 years ago on how we should do it. There's guidance in the plan for what we need to do. The mitigation needs to be completed before disturbance. Mitigation is successful when the habitat replaced is functional, doesn't need birds. But one of the things, as Mike mentioned, that we found out is frequently sage grouse will move into an area even before we pull the equipment out. So we're done operating, the equipment sits there over the weekend, you go in and the next week and there's sage grouse already moving through that area. Because our sage grouse are very much space limited in Utah. So if we can create space in the right place, sage grouse will do better. And so the pinyon juniper, that's a kind of a plague forest to some extent, is also a great opportunity. So we have some guidance from the Fish and Wildlife Service on what a mitigation program should look like and the governance and so on. Let me just say what we're proposing for this compensatory mitigation program is kind of a two-part program. One part is patterned after a conservation banking approach, which has been used for a number of years, and the other part is patterned after a mitigation credit approach. Conservation banking is already used for permanent disturbance with listed species, and it's very similar. Most of you have heard of wetlands banking. You don't hear much about conservation banking in Utah. We only have a couple banks, but we have a lot of wetlands banks in Utah where people mitigate for their disturbance to wetlands. The mitigation credit part of the program will be more flexible. It's something that the state will take the lead on running completely. There's no permanent land protection required, so the state will be the guarantor behind that habitat. And what we want to do, the process, the state will establish the rules for the program. The state will provide the assurance. State program, private landowner or developer does the project to generate the credits. The state will look at the disturbance and figure out how many credits are gained, and then figure out how many credits are lost in a disturbance, and go from there. And so it'll allow that process. So just at the end, where are we at now? Just quickly, where we're at now is we want to establish this compensatory mitigation program in Utah DNR. That's what the executive order directed us to do. We're going to implement the mitigation portion of the program already. We've already done projects that we've identified, so we have credits done that if people need credits, we can provide credits for them to use right now. We are in the process now. We have a sponsor, and legislation's being prepared that we're going to hopefully have a bill passed in this legislature that'll give the DNR executive director the rulemaking authority to set up the rules that are needed for the program. And we'll use this new regulatory authority to establish the entire program and hopefully have it up and running by next summer. That's the goal that we would like to do. Then what we want to do is we want to negotiate. We would like everybody in Utah to use the state program rather than go build their own. So we're going to negotiate first with the Fish and Wildlife Service and see if we can get them to endorse the state program. We've had some very promising meetings so far. And then the next step is we want to approach both the BLM and the U.S. Forest Service, and rather than have them develop their own programs, we're going to try to encourage them to designate our program as the program in the state. We think that we can do a program much more customized to Utah than what would happen if it was developed through the federal agencies. So that's kind of where we are in the process. I know that was really quick, and be glad if you have any questions. I'd be glad to answer.
Questions, board members? Just a comment and kind of an observation, and this is for our Idaho friends as well. Pinyon juniper is an ecological wasteland, as you probably know. In about 1985, when Director Styler started, Utah was dead last in the Rockies in trophy deer and elk production, whether it's harvesting or just counting it. And by this inclusive nature of what this is one example of several, there's been a major change, and now Utah produces more trophy deer and trophy elk than the rest of the Rockies combined, including world records in 2005, 2006, 2007.
Well, that may be a bit of an overstatement.
No, it's not an overstatement. I told you we have opinions on everything. You want to comment on that and maybe make it more accurate?
Let me just say our wildlife have responded to these treatments, and it's created more AUMs for both livestock and wildlife. It's considerably decreased the sometimes prickly situation between our livestock owners and our sportsmen, because there's more for everyone, and we have had a rebound on our deer herd. West-wide, the mule deer population have really suffered the last 15 years, but we've had a significant rebound, and our elk population is well, we're having to issue more cow permits because our elk population is going through the roof. So we're doing very well, and much of this, I think, can be attributed to the habitat that we're creating.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
One last thing, we have great partners in our federal partners, the BLM, Forest Service. BLM probably is the largest single contributor to this watershed restoration program, and many our sportsman groups are contributing millions of dollars as well, because they see the benefit in this. And we don't care whose land we treat, if it's private land or federal land or state land. If they come to us with a project, we will help them do a project on their land.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your coming. Back to you, Mr. Baza.
I'd like to thank Mike and Alan for doing that. And I might mention that one of the fun things I get to do as the director of the division is to go on field trips with these fellows. And if you've never seen a chaining operation take place, it's very dramatic. It's truly impressive. And I'm sure that if we wanted to, representatives or extractive industries or even this board, we could probably get you out on site to see this happen firsthand. And it's pretty impressive to see it happening. Again, we're limited on time, and I don't want to burden the board with a lot of briefing because we have many formal agenda matters to cover today. But we're probably going to skip over Dana's discussion of the Interstate Mining Compact Commission and maybe go into a couple of our program updates. We try to do this at the end of the year for all of our programs. I'm going to ask maybe if each of them could keep it to about 10 minutes each. That's what we're going to shoot for. So we'd like to have Steve Fluke come up, who's the manager of our Abandoned Mine Reclamation Program, and give you an update on the AMR program within the division.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and Board. Okay. My name is Steve Fluke. I administer the Abandoned Mine Reclamation Program. Makes me the hood ornament of the group. Our group doesn't have many matters that come before the board, so it's nice to be able to give you an update once a year. We didn't even do it last year, I don't believe, so I'll talk about projects that we've worked on the past couple of years. But I also, since we don't come to the board very often, I thought it might be nice to give a little program overview and let you know a little bit about our program for those that aren't too familiar with it. Our program exists because of Title IV, the Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act. That's for the reclamation of abandoned mines, mines that are pre-law, that haven't been worked since 1978, generally. We are funded primarily by SMACRA through fee on coal production, and funding is distributed to states by the Office of Surface Mining through 3-year grants. And we also get funding through for specific projects for the BLM work. So we partner and do a lot of work with BLM. Our primary focus for our program is coal reclamation. We've mostly completed our coal reclamation for the state of Utah There's still a couple of remaining sites that we haven't worked on, but that was our primary focus at the beginning of years since 1983 when the program was started. But we still have maintenance and coal fire issues that we have to deal with as they crop up. And we do quite a bit of non-coal reclamation through SMACRA. That only allows us to do physical safety hazards, such as holes in the ground, so mines and adits and shafts, things like of that nature. We estimate that there are 20,000 mine openings in Utah that would fall under that category as a safety hazard. That's just an estimate. There's not a comprehensive inventory of the mines in the state. It's based on symbols on topographic maps, and we just extrapolate how many we generally see out in the field when we compared with the number that you'd find on the map. There's not any place to go to get all that information readily. So as we do projects, then we actually go on the ground and find the openings and determine how we're going to deal with the problems. But the AMRP, since the beginning of the program, has closed about 4,000 openings. And we prioritize our projects based on the proximity of the mine features to population centers or recreation use. But with BLM funding, we're not restricted to just working on physical safety hazards. We can also address environmental hazards. And we have quite a few projects. Some of them are on hold right now while BLM is working out some protocols to sample their dumps and determine if there's any heavy metal concerns with the dumps that are associated with their abandoned mines. So in the past couple of years, we've done 10 pretty major projects. They're shown on the map there. 4 of those are coal and 6 are non-coal. I'll give you a highlight of just a few of them because we don't really have time to go over them all. One of the really nice projects that we did, one of the Cadillacs of our project, kind of the core of why our group exists, was a project like this, the Night Ideal Coal Loadout Reclamation. It was managed by Chris Rohr with our group, and you can see on the map there, there's an aerial view of the triangular shape there is the old coal loadout, how it looked in, I think, 2010, I believe, from that photo. And it had been left in disrepair and with coal waste around and construction debris and things like that. This is just outside of the town of Wellington. And we reclaimed the 29 acres and partnered with the city of Wellington and the DWR to establish it as a park and put in a pond. This is during the reclamation, so all the coal has been buried and the site has been regraded, and they've started to work on the pond. You can see the outline of it there. They haven't completed the work quite yet. Here's a couple of before and after photos during the reclamation. You can see some of the coal piles and the black earth there from all the coal, and there it is after the coal has been buried. And there's an overview of the pond just before the vegetation has established. Another project was the Morrison coal mine reclamation project, and that also was a coal reclamation project on private land outside of the town of Sterling in Sanpete County. And this was a coal mine, the Morrison coal mine. There were 4 separate sites associated with the mine on that property, right on the coal pile. They weren't even aware that the house was built on the coal pile. And there, you can see in this one photo, this was kind of the loadout area, I believe, and a couple of houses were built. Part of this project, we buried coal, recontoured some of the area so it's made it more stable, and we armored the stream channel. This 6 Mile Creek is a pretty major stream channel coming out of the Wasatch Plateau there. The Wolfton Gilsonite fire was an unusual project. On the left, the photo is before with the fire burning. You can see the Gilsonite seam in the horizon cutting through the mountainside right in the center of the photo. And those seams are mined. They can be in this area, I think 20 feet wide or so, and 100, 200 feet deep. And a range fire set the gilsonite on fire, and it was put out with fill material, about 14,000 cubic yards, that was borrowed from a pit nearby that we permitted from BLM land that was adjacent, and filled the pit, and also filled the trenches with the fill material and used water to douse the flames. We believe it's out. We worked on this fall, so we'll be going back this spring to make sure that we got it. It's pretty tough to work on these fires until that you got them out. And the San Rafael Swell project was also a pretty major project that we did. It was fairly high profile. We worked closely with the BLM and Emery County, and we closed 173 uranium mines in the San Rafael Swell. 155 of those were on BLM land, and 18 were on Sitka land. We used a combination of walls and grates, and we backfilled some too, but we tried to maintain the historic character of the mining district, and that was really important to the locals there, and I think we did a really fantastic job on that. There's a video on YouTube if you haven't seen it. I think our website links to it as well, that shows some of the construction work that we did for that project. Another important objective of our group is the community outreach that we do. We want to educate the public on the hazards of abandoned mines, and also on Utah's mining heritage. We have a workbook that's part of the 4th grade curriculum. We updated it year before last and distributed it to 4th grade classes. We distributed last year in 2014 48,000 workbooks to 4th graders, and last year, or the beginning of this year actually, 22,000 workbooks. We also have, you're probably familiar with the calendar that we put out every year, and we'll be doing that again this year. We're working on it to get it out before the beginning of the year. And we do a lot of community outreach events. We go to different festivals and fairs. Sometimes we'll speak to groups and just educate folks about the importance of the work that we do. We have some partners and organizations that we work with. We are active with the National Association of Abandoned Mine Lands. We have 2 delegates in that group. I'm the co-chair of the Hard Rock Committee, so that looks at the hard rock reclamation for the nation and the issues associated with it. And we'll also be hosting the NAMLIP website starting this year. And the Southwest Partnership is a group that meets once a year. It started out as a tech transfer between Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah. OSM, BLM joins in, the Navajos, and we discuss issues that deal with abandoned mine reclamation in the Southwest. And I'm telling you this because we will be hosting that group this year. We're probably going to have it up in Park City. We're still working on organizing it, but that'll be in August of this year, and everyone would be welcome to come. It's 1 day of talks and discussions, and then a day of field trip. And I guess we can't talk about abandoned mines without discussing the Gold King mine release. Because of that, I guess people have found out that there is not a comprehensive inventory of abandoned mines in the West. That was kind of a shocker to most people. But in Utah, it's such a dry state that we don't believe there are, many sites like that, if any. The abandoned mine reclamation program does not work on contaminated water issues like that. It's not eligible with our SMACRA funding. So we don't know of many issues that we have to deal with that are out there, but there could be some small ones, and maybe in the Wasatch or some places where it's wetter. But it has highlighted the need for Good Samaritan legislation and hard rock reclamation funding, which both are bills that have been introduced in legislation. legislation this year. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Question, board members? Thank you. That was excellent.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Oh, and Steve has done a great job for the division in his role. In fact, this year we gave Steve an Annual Achievement Award, which is our one award as a management team that we give to a noteworthy employee during the year. So during our summer picnic, we honored Steve with that recognition. Also would mention to you that as we have future mining field trips, we'll make sure that the board has a chance to see some of these reclaimed areas that Steve was highlighting for you. The next program update we'd like to do is with the coal regulatory program. And Darren Haddock is the program manager for the coal regulatory program, and he'll give you an update. And I think sometimes Darren feels that rather than a hood ornament, he's more like a lightning rod for issues within the coal program, but I'll let him explain that to you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. It's good to be with you, and I guess I don't consider myself a hood ornament. I don't qualify, I don't think, for even being a hood ornament. But anyway, with the coal program, I thought I'd just start out by indicating what the mission of the coal program is. And basically, we are also primarily funded by the federal government, the Office of Surface Mining. Our program is basically, we have primacy in the state of Utah and run the coal program primarily funded through an OSM grant. But basically, these are the things that we're looking at as far as trying to regulate the coal industry. We support the existence of a viable coal mining industry to meet the nation's energy needs. We implement standards that safeguard the environment and protect public health and safety. We achieve the successful reclamation of land affected by coal mining activities. And so that's the primary focus of what we do in the coal program. Of course, in Utah and throughout the country, coal is really kind of hit upon hard times right now. A lot of things have happened to make coal kind of a hard. It's a hard industry to make a living in right now. But anyway, there are in our program right now 11 FTEs. That's down about half of what it was when I started 20 some odd years ago. There's about like I said, most there are 11 FTEs, various disciplines. We have hydrologists, biologists, engineers, soil scientists, and inspectors, and basically these are the people that run the coal program in Utah. And just to show you the actions or what we do, these are kind of the typical actions that we do during any particular quarter. We have somewhere around 20 to 30 amendments that we will process to keep the mines operating. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 or 4 revisions or expansions of mines that are in the process. Right now we have 4 that amount to a little over 2,000 acres of land that are under or being processed to try to permit. We do renew permits. The coal permits are good for 5 years, and so we have to look at those, and every 5 years we'll have to renew those, and so we're usually doing 1 or 2 of those every quarter. Midterm reviews, that's every 2.5 year increments there that we do those. That's 1 to 2 year, 2 of those that are going on at the same time. Water monitoring reports, we do about 23 of those every quarter. Exploration plans, we review a couple of those every quarter. Bond releases process, we usually have 1 or 2 of those that we're dealing with. Inspections, that's a big part of our program. We're required to do an inspection at just about every mine site every month. Well, at least every quarter, and every active mine site every month. And we do about 80 of those every quarter, so that's a significant amount of our work. Compliance actions, basically, we'll have maybe 5 to 8 of those every quarter. It just depends on how things are, but that's usually part of our inspection program is also ensuring compliance. This is pretty telling in Utah. Right now we have 7 producing mines. Actually, I've got a question mark here by Westridge that whether they're actually producing. I think they've just about wrapped up the mining in that mine. They're probably about done. If they're not done, they're very close to being done. And so that mine will close. So we only have 6 active coal mines in the state of Utah right now, and that's pretty telling. When I started 28 years ago, we probably had closer to 20 active mines in Utah, and so now we only have 6, and so that's pretty telling. The major producers you can see here, Bowie Industry has 3 of them. Utah American Energy. The Lila Canyon mine is the active mine, and like I said, Westridge is probably, if not closed, just about closed. They're very close to being wrapped up. Rhino Energy is the other mine that we have, and then we also have the Coal Hollow mine, which is our only surface mine in Utah. Just some pictures. This is a Skyline mine. It's on the Wasatch Plateau in Carbon County. The Lila Canyon mine, this one is down on the Book Cliffs area. Dugout Canyon mine is also in the Book Cliffs, but further north. You can kind of see the differences in topography at each of these. The Bear Canyon mine is on the Wasatch Plateau in Emery County, up Huntington Canyon. Coal Hollow mine, this is down in Kane County. You can see them. This is basically them backfilling one of their pits, and so you can kind of see the country there. And then the Sufco mine down in Sevier County, Emery and Sevier County is where this one is. And the Westridge mine is also in the Book Cliffs in Carbon County. Waste coal recovery is one of the other things that is happening. Even though we only have 6 active coal mines, there are a number of mines that are basically going back to old waste piles and recovering that resource that was at one time just considered waste. We have Hiawatha Complex, Wellington Prep Plant, Sunnyside Refuse, Starpoint Waste Fuel. Those are all recovering waste piles. The Wellington Dry Coal Facility is just a facility that processes waste materials. Fossil Rock Refuse is one that's just starting up to recover waste from the old Cottonwood Waste Rock site. And then we also have a proposed site, the Deer Creek Refuse site. And this is just an example of one of those sites, the Starpoint Refuse site, how they go back. And, this was an old refuse pile. They're just going back and recovering that waste material and basically recycling that material for use in the energy production. We have about 7 sites that are considered in temporary cessation. Basically, these are sites that are no longer operating, but they could restart any time. They could reopen about any time and start mining again, just depending on market conditions. But we do have about 7 sites there that are considered temporary cessation. We do have some active reclamation projects that we've done this year. White Oak Eccles Creek project, that was a big project that our program completed, and that's basically the last of the reclamation at the White Oak site. Cottonwood Wilburg site demolition, that's a site that basically was a Pacific Corp mine that is closed now and is being reclaimed. The same with the Deer Creek mine. Willow Creek mine, they also went through a phase 3 bond release. They've completed reclamation on all but 1.19 acres. There's a real small area left. The Coal Hollow mine, they've actually done reclamation on 100 acres, so that's a pretty big chunk of reclamation that they have done, but that's only the phase 1. They've still got the other phases of reclamation to go through. These others, Gordon Creek, Horizon, Columbia Well, they're projects that are also ongoing. White Oak, this is just a picture of what was done there. There was a pad here that covered Eccles Creek, and it was basically used for access to the mine, which went up this road and then up this canyon. That material has all been removed, and the creek is now running through an open channel here. So that was a big project that was just completed this October. Cottonwood Mine, this is an example of the work that's the demolition work that's been done there. Deer Creek, they are just, like I said, just shut down this year, and we'll be reclaiming that site. The Horizon Mine is one that is been undergoing reclamation. There's still a fair amount of work that needs to be done there. We have about 6 sites that are reclaimed and are just waiting for time and waiting for us to determine that they're done and we can release them. And that's about it on those. And this is an example of one of those, Blazon Mine. You can see that it's been reclaimed. Here's another one, the Boyer and Summit Mines. You can see that it's been reclaimed. They're just waiting for time, and we will release them from our jurisdiction at some point. That's pretty much it for the coal program. Any questions?
Board members, any questions? Thank you. All of those presentations have been so good, no one's asked questions.
Well, thank you, board members. You'll see program updates from 2 other programs at your January meeting, Minerals Regulatory Program and then the Oil and Gas Program. The only other thing that I would mention to you before I'll turn the time back to you, Mr. Chairman, is that we have started our annual process for Earth Day Award nominations. Our Public Information Officer, Holly Brown, sent out notices last week, and you may have seen those come through email, but we're soliciting those now through the end of January, at which point we'll review those and bring them back to you for your consideration for your annual Earth Day Awards.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the informative presentations during our briefing session. This is now the time for anyone who has from the public who has something they would like to bring to our attention that is within our jurisdiction. So if anyone from the public is here that would like to address us, please stand. Seeing none, then we'll take a 10-minute break and we'll be back. I would like to, and we'll do this on the record, but The Crescent Point matter is item number 3. We're going to move that to the end. And then, so we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Thank you.